Now, so what I'm saying is that they look at it from a different angle. Article 11 and impeachment is there to protect the people from government officials who are not exercising their powers correctly. And they're named in Article 11, as you know, and therefore that they cannot stop the process where it is the people, the principals. You see, the people are the principals, and the government are just their servants and agents of the people. They cannot stop the process to protect the people. Explicitly said in the Constitution, it's the duty of the Senate to try the case as a trial court. That is, in other words, that's not their part of the regular legislative power, but it is the job of the Senate to protect the people who are their bosses, the principals of all government officials, whether elected or appointed.
Parang nakalimutan na nila kung sino ang boss nila.
Yes, nakalimutan nila kung sino puprotektahin. That's why we had a separate article on the Constitution on accountability of public officials.
Enzo Recto, kalaban ang katiwalian at kasinungalingan, kakampi sa katotohanan at kabutihan.
Pinoprotektahan ba ni Chiz Escudero itong si Sara Duterte? Ito ngayon ang malaking katanungan dito kay Chiz Escudero sa kanyang mga pinaggagawa ngayon sa pagdedelay ng pag-uumpisa ng impeachment trial ni Sara. Dahil po mga kabunyog, ayon po kasi sa isa sa may akda ng ating constitutions na si Attorney Christian Monsod, isang eksperto sa ating konstitusyon. Ang hindi raw pagsunod sa ating saligang batas ay nagpapakita lang daw po itong mga kabunyog na hindi ang taong bayan ang pinaglilingkuran nila, bagkos may pangsarili itong interest or mayroon siyang ibang pinoprotektahan at hindi ang taong bayan, saad ni Attorney Monsod. Anyway mga kabunyog, ano-ano pa po ba ang mga sinabi nitong si Attorney Monsod hinggil dito sa mga pinaggagawa ng Senado? Halina't alamin po natin.
We've heard most of the arguments, pros and cons, on the delay of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. And tonight we seek the insights of one of the framers of our 1987 Constitution. Attorney, what do you make of this resolution now seeking a dismissal of the impeachment complaint?
Well, Ayan, it will not succeed. This Constitution is very clear that once the articles of impeachment comes from the House, that the Senate should forthwith proceed. Very clear.
But they may have the numbers, and it may...
Not a matter of numbers. If yung mga iba, yung mga senator, maski na anong iboto nila, we will go, I mean, the prosecution will go to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court, in the system of checks and balances, has the power to determine whether or not there has been a grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction on the part of any branch or instrumentality of the government.
So, Attorney, can we say na this is a delaying tactic?
Well, maybe it's a delaying tactic because they think that the 20th Congress cannot proceed anymore. In other words, that the impeachment case dies with the 19th Congress. They are wrong. They are wrong. The Senate is really a continuing body, and the case must be finished, must be the trial must be conducted, and the Senate must act on the impeachment charges.
Attorney Monsod, when it comes to the Supreme Court, you know, being the arbiter of the Constitution, vis-a-vis, some senators saying that this is all within Senate rules, that it would be up to the Senate. There are some legal opinions that, hindi makikialam yung Supreme Court. What are your thoughts on that? Will the Supreme Court actually step in?
You cannot talk sense to people who don't study, right? And to me, they must look at it this way. Yung impeachment, yung Article 11 of the Constitution, on impeachment process for specific government officials. That arises that those are protections for the people. Now, the sovereignty resides in the people, in our constitution, resides in the people, and our government authority emanates from them. So all government officials appointed or elected are servants of the people, or they're agents of the people who have the sovereignty. Now, we needed this Article 11 on impeachment in order to remove from government and disqualify them from public office people who have betrayed the public trust, because public office is a public trust, and for crimes of treason, violation of the constitution, graft and corruption, other high crimes, but betrayal of public trust. Now, so what I'm saying is that they look at it from a different angle. Those, Article 11 and impeachment is there to protect the people from government officials who are not exercising their powers correctly. And they're named in Article 11, as you know, and therefore that they cannot stop the process where it is the people, the principals. You see, the people are the principals, and the government are just their servants and agents of the people. They cannot stop the process to protect the people.
Attorney, so what you are telling us is this is the crux of the matter, and we should not be sidelined by all these precedents that are being cited. For instance, Senator Tolentino cites several precedents.
Yes. Well, when he talks about due process and so on, the people are entitled to due process. And the process is explicitly said in the Constitution. It's the duty of the Senate to try the case as a trial court. That is, in other words, that's not their part of the regular legislative power, but it is the job of the Senate to protect the people who are their bosses, the principals of all government officials, whether elected or appointed.
Parang nakalimutan na nila kung sino ang boss nila.
Yes, nakalimutan nila kung sino po protektahan. That's why we had a separate article on the Constitution on accountability of public officials. Diba? That's why we have it, because the people are entitled to be protected from public officials who have betrayed the public trust.
But if they barrel away and do this, on June 11, what is the recourse?
Supreme Court.
So another delay.
Well, still, they cannot stop that process.
Attorney, last week, former Senate President Frank Drilon, in a TV interview, he said that, no matter how this goes, it's going to end up with the Supreme Court because the issues, whether kung pwedeng tumawid from 19th to 20th Congress, that's still kind of up in the air, although most legal luminaries agree na pwede. Do you see the same, that no matter what happens, talagang mag-e-end ito sa SC?
What do you mean? No matter what?
Kung matuloy, kung magtumawid, whatever happens to this impeachment trial.
That trial will continue. They cannot stop it.
On another note, Attorney, you also have Senate President Chiz saying that nothing binds the 19th Congress and the 20th Congress. He even said, in the end, the plenary is supreme. I mean, Senator Chiz is a lawyer, so how surprising is it for him to say something like that?
What did he say? That is contrary to the point that the Senate is a continuing body, and they continue what started. The 20th Congress can continue what started in the 19th Congress. This is not an ordinary bill. You see, when it is a bill which is the exercise of the legislative powers, yung hindi natapos ng 19th Congress are deemed terminated. This is a special provision of the Constitution on the Senate acting as a judicial process, right? In the judicial process.
So we shouldn't apply the rules that are for their legislative tasks.
Correct. That's right. You cannot apply those are different. And the process in the case of impeachment is explicitly said in the Constitution.
But what they are saying is because there's no more time, then that means it should be dismissed, which is
that's in the first place. That's a stupid comment, right? Because parang sinasabi nila na you know, they're protecting the public servant or agent of the sovereign people, protecting them rather than protecting the people. That is, you know, hindi yata nagbabasa ng Constitution yan eh.
Okay, so when the Constitution says, Attorney Monso, that you know the Senate can basically make the rules, make about the rules of the impeachment trial and how it will go, ano po yung naglilimit sa kanila? At what limits should they? Yeah.
Yeah, the Senate can provide its own rules of procedure. Wala naman yun. Ano? I mean, remember that not all senators are lawyers. So, you know, for example, yung beyond reasonable doubt na conviction is not applicable here, right? This is not like that. As if you notice, the penalty for conviction is removal from office and disqualification from public office. There is no imprisonment. There's nothing. It's just removing a public servant who has betrayed the public trust.
And what about the senators, Attorney? Some people are now mad, flooding, you know, the Facebook pages of these senators with negative comments. What is the recourse? Because they are elected officials, and as we already determined, tayo yung boss nila, but they're not listening. What can we do?
Well, let's see what happens. I don't think that their move to have the case dismissed will happen. If they want the vice president, for example, to be acquitted, they must have 9 votes. Diba? And if they don't get the 9 votes, then she will be convicted. And she will step down as vice president and cannot be in any public service anymore. She's disqualified. Yun lang naman eh. That's what I said. That this process is to protect the people from public officers who have not done their job.
Pero pwede rin hindi nila makuha yung boto na yan.
Pwede rin. Pwede hindi makuha yung 16. Well, that's how democracy functions. Right? They may have 9 votes, and so she will be acquitted.
But now, once again, Senate President Chiz Escudero keeps repeating that the House took their time, dragged their feet, and now, I mean, it's water under the bridge. But he's still repeating this argument. Well,
the Senate is also dragging her feet. It was delivered the impeachment articles of impeachment delivered to them February 5, right? But it's June 2, and they had to move it back to June 11. And then they're now saying that the delay, because of the delay, the right to due process of Vice President Duterte have been violated, and therefore it should be dismissed. Well, who delayed it? Who delayed the process? Di ba sila?
But at the same time, Attorney, there's that petition filed by the camp of Vice President Sara Duterte with the Supreme Court, where she said that the House of Representatives committed grave abuse of discretion because they did sit on the first 3 impeachment complaints. So how strong is her argument with the Supreme Court?
Well, kasi nga may rule that only 1 a year, no, ang impeachment charges. But you know, the lawyers of Duterte said that yung 3 previous ones were they were stopped, no? Parang sinasabi nila na shelf or whatever it is. It was never
taken up
to the Justice Committee. Now, if you say that number 4 is violates the rule of 1 year, then you can revive the 3.
Yeah, but isn't that a violation in itself, Attorney? The fact na hindi nila finorward or ni-refer sa Justice Committee, which they should be doing in a given number of days as per the Constitution, as per the rules. Diba? So, hindi ba yon parang violation then on their part? Pwede ba tong i-bring up ni VP?
No, what I'm saying is that I don't think that Vice President Duterte can evade impeachment proceedings.
Okay, so attorney, by not holding a trial, how dangerous of a precedent would that be? Because you also have Senator Coco Pimentel saying not holding a trial is already tantamount to an acquittal of an impeachable official.
Well, that will not happen.
What is the source of your confidence, attorney?
Because the Constitution is very clear, and then there is a Supreme Court who can intervene if they have abused their discretion. So in that system of checks and balances.
But we know, as Senator Drilon had put it, the gods of Padre Faura do take their time.
What? The
They
gods of
take
what?
their time in deliberating. We don't begrudge them that, but this is another delay.
Yeah, you mean the Senate?
The Supreme
The
Court.
Supreme Court.
Oh, well, I don't know what the status is of the petition filed by Duterte, but you know, I have to trust the Supreme Court because, as the saying goes, the legislative is the pearl, the executive is the sword, but the Supreme Court is the conscience of the nation.
And with that, Attorney Monsod, we end this interview and we thank you so much for talking to us.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bunyog, bunyog, halikan na kasama ka. Bunyog, kapag buklod ay may pag-asa. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, isa ang pananaw. Sa bagong Pilipinas ang bunyog isisigaw. Bunyog.